Look at this dude. It's a big old chunker now, man. Big old chunker. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, me and Mater are going to talk to you guys about the top 5 things you want to avoid doing to your crested geckos. That way you don't kill them or do anything to hurt them. So make sure you stick around and watch all 5 things because these are crucial to make sure that you do not hurt your crested gecko. So stick around. So the first thing that people do that I see that is a big mistake is giving your crested gecko heat. Now, you don't want to give your crested gecko any sort of heat. You basically want to keep their temperature around 72 to 75 degrees. That's the optimal temperature that you want. And I mean, they don't really need heat. The only time they would ever really need heat is if your temperature drops below 70 degrees during the day and you don't want to let it drop too far at night. I would say 68 degrees at night is the most. Now, if you're having trouble keeping the temperature up to these standards, I would say that, like, if you're in a basement or keeping them in a basement, something like that, to where it's a little bit cooler, I would honestly just get a ceramic heat emitter, have it on a lower wattage. That way you're just giving them a little bit of heat, bumping it up a few degrees. You don't want it to blast them or anything like that. You just want the ambient temperature to be around 72 to 75 degrees. Now, if it's a little bit higher, if it's 77, 78 towards the top, they can kind of regulate themselves by going closer to the ceramic heat emitter or further away to get cooler. So don't really worry about that. But the temperature you want to keep them at is 72 to 75. Don't do any heat unless you have to, and then you should be good. Another thing I sometimes see people recommend is a mesh enclosure. Now, mesh enclosures are good for chameleons, but for crested geckos, they need high humidity. So it's not really good to have any sort of mesh container. You want either like a plastic tub or a glass container because you want that humidity when you mist them to stay in there because they need it to shed their skin and just to overall be healthy. They need that humidity. So don't use a mesh enclosure. Use something like a plastic tote or a glass tank. Exoterras work great. The bigger totes work well too. I use those for a lot of my breeders. So use something like that instead of a mesh container or a screen container. Now, this one is more of like an older fashioned or like an old school type of thought. I haven't really seen it recently because people are realizing like this is not good. Don't ever feed your crested gecko baby food. Baby food is not healthy for your crested gecko. Pangea is the best in my opinion, this is not sponsored by the way, but Pangea is literally the best food. It's so simple to make. It's super easy. You're gonna jump on my head. You turd. Pangea is a super easy food to make. All you have to do is mix the powder with water. You're gonna jump on my head again, aren't you? So yeah, as I was saying, Pangea is a super easy food to make. All you have to do is mix it with water. Super easy, and then you give them dusted bugs 1 to 2 times a week, and that should be good for them. Super easy diet. Just don't ever feed baby food. It's not healthy whatsoever for them. Another thing that I see people do is buying them from a big chain store. Now, Reptile Expos have a ton of different options of crested geckos you can get, and you're supporting local breeders. I would much rather you go to a local expo that you have and get a crested gecko from there because they'll be able to answer a lot better questions. The geckos are going to be healthier. These are their animals that they bred themselves and they raised up. So overall, you're getting a way healthier gecko, better information, and a lot of times the bigger chain pet stores do not take care of them the way that they need to be cared for. So that is my recommendation. Always go to a breeder or go to an expo, and then you can get a healthy, cool looking gecko. I mean, look at this dude. Another thing I see that I will not recommend is giving them too big of an enclosure. Babies work very well in 6-quart totes. I would say juveniles work well in 17-quart totes, and then adults can be moved into there when they're around 20-ish grams in a 66-quart tote. Now, if you give them a smaller space, they're gonna feel more safe, and it's just gonna be overall better for them. They're usually not as timid, but if you put them into a big enclosure or container, whatever that you're using, and they feel nervous, they're really not gonna come out very much. They're gonna be more timid, and as they get bigger, you can just move it up. So it's not that big of a deal. You're just making sure that they're not gonna be skittish. Now, as you guys know, I'm a crested gecko breeder, and actually I produced this little guy right here, who, like I said earlier on in the video, is Mater. And I'm gonna do something I haven't done yet. I've been kind of pushing off the video just because I kind of wanted to have a little bit more traction on YouTube before I put out a video like this, but I'm gonna spend a ton of time. It'll either be this following week or the week after, and I'm gonna do a full in-depth Crested Gecko care guide. So if you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed, turn on that notification bell. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Mater says peace.